sound of the drums beating my heart. The thunder of guns tore me apart. You've been thunderstruck.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the ANZCAR Cup here at Bristol. Yes, we are back and ready to get racing once more. Unfortunately, due to technical issues last week out with the servers, we had to postpone Bristol. So that means we'll be having Richmond a little bit later in the season. We'll be having Richmond next weekend. That will come a little bit later, but luckily there was a bit of a gap between the two. So we're going to get ready and start lining up. So we're getting straight into the racing here. But joining me tonight is Jono Hancock. How are you going, Jono?
I'm going good, Carl. How are you?
Not bad, not bad. And as always, we've got our producer JP on the cameras. So we're starting to grid up here. And Jono, I'll just get you to run through the qualifying order if you can, please.
Yep. So we got Matt Danson in first, Josh Micklemore second, Josh Carroll Walden third, Neil Person fourth, Brett fifth, Jason fifth, Kyle Snoggett sixth, Lachlan seventh, Jason Martin eighth, Edward Foster ninth, and to round out your top 10 we got Marco Dortnack.
Yes, and we've got a bit of news as well from the actual, well, in between qualifying and the race, really. So last week we had qualifying, of course, and we didn't get the race going, and this week we got the race going. But a few drivers in there have no longer got a team. Illusion Motorsport has actually dissolved and shut their doors, unfortunately, which is a great shame. Illusion, a fantastic team, and a team that we will miss for sure, because they've done some fantastic jobs and just had some fantastic racing throughout. Throughout everything, really. They've always been up there or thereabouts. So it's a real shame to lose Illusion, but they've dissolved because obviously Chris Purnell now has got Virtual Motorsport Mentor to focus on, and he's having to jump more into that. So he's decided that's going to be his main focus from now on, which is understandable. But as the cars come round, we're going to get our pace laps done. Of course, Bristol is one of those tricky little tracks, and it can throw a few people out, so it'll be interesting to see how everybody does today. Of course, you have got the two different pit stalls as well. You've got the back and front stretch pit lanes, so that can throw people out. Who will get that right and who will get that wrong? We have seen drivers in the past pitting in the wrong pit box.
Yeah, that's one of the very, very unique things about Bristol, and it always makes for great racing here. Bristol is an amazing track to watch. It's not the funnest to drive, though.
No, I love it to drive. It's one of those tracks that I enjoy. But we're going green, away we go, and Danson gets a very good start ahead of Micklemore.
Yeah, mate, getting the jump as expected with a driver like him. Then we got JCW following.
And we've got a spin a little bit further back. We've got our first spin. We've got a caution out. Sorry to cut you off there.
That's fine.
Back. Have a look at that one. So looks like Matt Hunter was involved in that one, yeah, just going back to have a little look at that one, just to see what happened. So it looks like the 98 of looking through the cars, I'll find the 98 Stephen Williams.
Ex-teammates getting into each other.
Yeah, just getting around. So teammates getting into each other, ex-teammates, as you say. And that's just got Stephen Williams round, and unfortunately a couple of cars got collected in that. Matt Hunter, I think, being the one that collected a little bit of an incident there. He managed to slow the car up in time, didn't get hit, which was good for him, but Stephen Williams has got some serious damage to the back of that car now, so we are under caution, first caution of the race.
Yeah, and Dave Douglas had a little spin during that incident too.
You've got to be very careful here with these incidents, because the brakes are using your brakes here a lot more than you are on other tracks, and it's very easy to lock the brakes as well, especially disc surface that is quite slippery. When you're going into an incident, you can really lock up your brakes and cause a separate incident for yourself in this race.
Yeah, under caution and beginning before the race on the warm-up laps, I tend to drag my brakes just to bring that bit of extra friction and heat into them.
And of course, with that, you get some extra heat into your tyres as well. It's one of those things that it's a trick that a few drivers use, and it's just running those brakes a little bit to get some heat into the brakes, of course. And also, when you get the heat on the brakes, it radiates out to the tyres as well and helps them heat up nice and quick too. So, a lot of drivers have that little trick in their arsenal, but it's sometimes you got to be careful because sometimes you can overdo it and then cook the brakes off.
Yeah, that's for sure. Especially somewhere like here, you don't want to cook them too much before you start up or under caution.
No, because the thing about the Thunder Canyon here at Bristol is it's such a short track and it's so enclosed. You don't get a lot of nice, cool, fresh air on the car as well. So overheating can be a bit of a problem here because it is just such a cramped place. And when you are running those brakes, you're putting a bit more heat through the car itself as well.
Now we've had our first caution car. Do you want to make a bet on how many we're going to have tonight?
Look, I don't want to make a bet because guaranteed I will get blamed for it if that happens. But yeah, look, we're expecting to see a few cautions here tonight. Unfortunately, Bristol is one of those tracks that is very tricky to race on. It's a tricky track to run on, and it is such a short track. You're going to see cars getting lapped within about 10 laps. You start to get up to the rear end of the pack sometimes. And if you're not so confident on this race, you can really have problems. So it's one of the hardest tracks to run, even though it sort of looks very simple. It's a very small track, just over half a mile, I think it is, off the top of my head. About 8.8 of a kilometre. So 80 meters, is that? Or yeah, 800 meters. There we go. That's the one. I always get kilometers mixed up. Green to go. Danson gets away quickly. But yeah, because it's such a short track, it's about 5.8 miles. Sorry, 0.58 miles long. It really is a very cramped, very tight track, and you do get midfield cars getting into it. As one of the MFR cars, I think it was Kai Sloggett, just had a big hit to the wall. There are a few cars just tapping the wall back there. And another car in trouble is a little bit further back. One of the silver and black cars had a big coming together with the wall. Lachlan, I think it was. Big hit to the wall, still going though, so good news for him, but just a bit of a hit. And coming into the pit lane, I think we've got Lachlan coming into the pits. So the 042 is coming into the pits after a big hit to the wall, but luckily managed to keep the race green.
Yeah, and that's one of those things here. Even though these cars may be dinosaur with their four gear dog box and their 5 lugs tyres and everything, they still hold up. When you bang a wall, you can get a bit more into it than some of the more modern cars, as we're watching Josh Mickelmore somewhat close to dancing here still.
Well, that's the thing. When you build a car out of solid iron, generally they tend to hold up to attack quite well. These cars, of course, being pretty much just metal. They're robust cars, and they can take a bit of a wallop. But the problem is when you wallop the front and the back a bit more, you do get aero issues. Not a problem on this track as much, but we're still hitting speeds of 180, 190, 200 kilometers per hour here. Fast speeds are still happening, so aero is important.
Yeah, especially when you're trying to hold it right up against that wall, as you'll see some of the faster drivers do tonight, is they tend to try hold it right up against that wall here at Bristol.
And it's the fastest way to go round at Bristol. You would have seen in the intro package my terrible driving skills. I like to keep a low line here at Bristol because I just do not trust myself near those walls, and it costs me a little bit of time usually. But you see sort of Matt Danson just holding that slight sort of middle line, that slightly lower line. but getting up towards the edge of the walls just on the exits. So keep him quite high for the actual straights, so he gets a good turn into the corners and then sitting mid-corner. Just behind him, Josh Micklemore sitting a little bit higher up the track, though, and just using that slightly higher line to get round there. And you'll see there are different styles for these drivers, as Matt Danson is already catching a couple of the back markers.
Yeah, Josh and Danson are staying close together with JCW just there in the background.
Yeah, so we have Norman Clark at the back at the moment. Just quite far down from Norman, but the race is not over yet. There's still a long way to go for sure. We've got 200 laps tonight as well. In the intro package as well, you would have seen 150. But that was the original idea, but we've gone up to 200 laps for this race. So I do apologise for that in the intro package. That's changed slightly. But yeah, it's a long race, and it can be a race of attrition here. It is one of those races where you can lose quite a few cars sometimes through accidents, because it's so easy to run wide here, so easy to lose the grip here, because the surface of this track is it's not very grippy. It's not a very it's not got a lot of traction on it.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like a concrete base, I believe, so it's not as stable or as steady as most of the asphalt tracks as we see. Danson again catching the back of those cars, which will be his big first challenge for this race, as there hasn't been that much passing going on yet.
No, we've not seen much passing yet, and it's early stages for this race. And in Bristol, you tend to see this, where everybody just tries to be nice and calm in the early stages, doesn't want to put too much pressure on the car. Norman Clark just sitting in the middle of the track there, so making Danson have to go nice and low there. But Norman's not going to put up too much of a fight with those cars. He's a classy driver, but he doesn't want to go too far down, of course. Micklemore getting past nice and easily as well. And it is one of those tracks where you've got to be in it to win it, of course, and you can find yourself in trouble very quickly here.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those tracks where you can be swamped several laps down very quickly and very easy. And again, talking about the pit boxes being on the front and back stretch, you've seen over the years drivers go into the wrong pit lane and pit boxes over time, and then have to come around and do it all over again, and costing them a lot more time than what was needed in the first place.
It's very confusing sometimes. You might think, well, how is it that confusing? It's just a pit box. It shouldn't be that hard. But when you've got two pit boxes to manage, it's not an easy thing to do, and it does make things a little bit harder. It adds that little bit of extra pressure on those drivers, because they have to remember if they're on the front or back stretch for the pit boxes. And the drivers that have the worst time with it are the drivers that are sort of qualifying in the midfield, because generally, I can't remember the exact cutoff. It's about,
I believe it's 20th, and then the rest are on the back stretch.
That's it. So when you finish qualifying in 20th place, you've got to remember, all right, I am here, but if you're 21st, you've got to remember you're on that back stretch, and it can catch you out quite quickly.
Yeah, it can, especially if you just have that moment of, we'll call it a brain fart, which is easy enough to have when you're thinking many, many thoughts a second as a race car driver.
That's it as well, is obviously with sim racing, you're thinking about your strategy as well as your racecraft, as well as your race, your tyres, your fuel, your opponent's fuel, your opponent's tyres, all on your own. You don't have people there, you don't have a technician, you don't have a mechanic talking to you all that time. Just looking down the field, we've got a great battle going on between in 7th and 8th at the moment, between Kai Slogger, Edward Foster, Michael Skerlock, Maiko Dortnack, and Matthew Cluett, with James Roby, Hamish Gallagher, and Daniel Stevens as well. Daniel Stevens has just gone into Hamish Gallagher. Hamish Gallagher's gone round, and he's got caught on the front of the 95. The 95 has just got caught up in that instant. Nowhere to go there for Shea Thompson. Really bad place to be for Shea Thompson there. Unfortunate position. Couldn't have really done anything different, as the 13's gone round. Just tapped around by Sloggett, I think it was. And just gone around and gone into the front of that car, and that has brought out the caution flag again for us on this lap.
Yeah, as we've already seen, the leaders come down pit lane here to take a set of tyres. Bristol is one of those tracks that eat your tyres very quickly, and it can be, we'll call it, I'm having a brain fart.
You can get a good undercut here on those tyres. The drop off is not that bad. You can keep running out there for pretty much almost half a race distance, for 50, 60 to 100 laps if you're brave.
Yeah,
But you do lose a lot of time. The time does drop. So it's one of those things in a caution. It's well worth pitting because you're not going to lose time. But on green flag, it can be devastating to pit. And then if a caution comes out, it can really ruin your race. But those fresh tyres do give you a lot of speed.
yeah, it's an advantage. That's the word I was looking for, to take the tyres under caution, especially this early on, 35 laps in. It's not really going to matter that much. Maybe, depending on how this plays out, I would have stayed out, but that's me because you're up at least the front of the field, not caught back further in, where there's a bit more likely of a wreck happening.
Exactly. It's a sort of strategy games that come into play here, and sometimes it can work out well for you, and sometimes it doesn't work so well. Just having a look, and it looks like the 35 of Joshua Carroll-Walden has actually stayed out. So Carroll-Walden and Dave Douglas have both done that strategy of staying out, I think. Just having a look on my screen.
So we're currently seeing JCW, Brett, Kyle Snoggett. Oh, okay, so you go.
Yeah, yeah, you gotta love the timing sometimes. So yeah, I've got Dave Douglas there with Matt Danson just behind them. So Matt Danson's come out behind JCW and Dave Douglas. So those guys did not pit. So we're gonna see how much difference those fresh tyres make. That's going to be an interesting thing. Do the fresh tyres make this much of a difference, or are these guys pulling a bit of a risk out? And we've seen Dave Douglas take some risks. It's strange to see him in a different colour paint scheme this season. He's on his own at the moment in the number 10. Obviously no sponsors on the car now because he was with Illusion at the start of the year. And so we got Douglas there, and he's got some damage on the front end of his car as well. He's got some damage to the front left of the car, so he's picked that up somewhere along the line. But we know Douglas is pretty good at getting a consistent sort of top 10 finish, so can't really say it was a bad call for him yet. We'll have to wait until you see how this turns out when the pace car comes in.
Yeah, and that's right, and lights are out on the pace car. With being only 2 cars in front of those guys, it shouldn't affect them that much.
No, we'll get to see the difference between fresh and warm tyres. These tyres have done a good 38 laps now on these front guys. And as we get ready for it, Joshua Carroll-Walden's going to lead away, puts his foot down, the tail gets a little bit happy, and Dave Douglas just gets up into the wall very, very slightly, but has got away cleanly. Joshua Carroll-Walden just leaps away there, but Danson is just behind him. Dave Douglas is starting to fall back a little bit. We've got a bit of a battle going on from P6 down with Jason Martin and everyone, but looking at the front, Matt Danson has just breezed past JCW. Joshua Carroll-Walden there, it looks like they're in different classes of cars because those tyres are obviously not as fresh as the other ones, and that's really started to hurt them. Dave Douglas just getting a little bit of a tickle there from Kai Sloggett in the MFR car. Yeah, it looks like fresh tyres were the way to go at the moment. It looks like that was the best option.
Yeah, biggest loser out of all that was Josh Micklemore. I don't know if he got hit in the rear end start, but he's got damage in the back and he dropped down to 6th. He's back up to 5th though now.
Yeah, a bit of damage on the back of that car, so he's taken a little bit of a bump. I did see a couple of bumps happen through that as well, so we did have a few bumps in that sort of restart there. Dave Douglas was going around like a ping pong ball, so he got hammered a little bit, and he's dropped all the way down to 14th now. So he was just really dropping down the field, unfortunately. So yeah, those fresh tyres were definitely the right call for the rest of the field.
Yeah, as we see JCW just getting swamped now by drivers as he didn't take those fresh tyres either.
Yeah, it's made a big difference. Big winner in that pit stop. A couple of big winners there. Lindsay Hobbs brilliant drive up into 8th place at the moment, started 24th. And Edward Foster as well has made 5 positions through that pit strategy and pit call, up to 5th place from 10th. But Lindsay Hobbs is on a bit of a charge at the moment. The number 7 is flying and catching the other guys as well. Edward Foster is really putting in pressure on Josh Micklemore as well. So we've got some cars starting to climb up the field, but currently as it stands, Matt Danson has pulled out a ridiculously 2.2 seconds at the moment.
Yeah, I got to see some of Ed's work in a practice the other week before we were supposed to go racing here, and he's very quick, and he was sitting on that high line a lot throughout the tyre life run that he did.
Yeah, and of course Edward Foster has got a bit of a win to come off of as well. He got the win in the Thunder Series on Tuesday night, of course, beating Jason Hartigan for the win in that race. So he's got a bit of a win on the lower Formula races. So he wants to carry that luck over and keep going, it looks like. And he's not doing a bad job of it at the moment.
Yeah, he did well in the Thunder Series, and unfortunately for Jason, there was trouble early on the race. Currently sitting in pits at the moment.
Yeah, real shame for Hardigan and Lachlan as well. Both sort of pretty much out of this race. Hamish Gallagher has managed to get back on track, although 7 laps down. So Gallagher's sort of out of the running pretty much now. If Gallagher can get back on the lead lap, I'll eat my hat. It's going to be a tricky one for him to do.
Bristol, you never know what's going to happen here.
You don't, but Kai Sloggett has just done a brilliant move on Josh Micklemore, just doing the scissors under and over, and Micklemore has managed to keep behind him, and that's let Foster have a run on the MFR car, side by side as they come down the pits, the start-finish straight right here. Foster's just had to leave off a little bit, but there's some serious racing going on from 3rd down to 5th at the moment.
Yeah, there looks to be a bit of aero damage and crumple on the front of the Kai Sloggett machine there, but hopefully that's not affecting him too much out there tonight.
So, as we go round, we'll get on the start-finish line, and let's just listen to these cars going around Thunder Canyon. There of those engines, they really come out strong here on this track. It is it's one of those races that everybody says is just fantastic to be at because of the Coliseum arena here. You just get such a reverberation of the noise of these cars. They sound so mean around this track.
Yeah, it is an amazing sound and an amazing atmosphere here at the Coliseum.
And it's such a unique track in that respect. I mean, the only track that's close to it is Dover, of course, and you know, Dover is a much bigger track. It is a bigger track. It's not quite the same. Bristol is just one of those funny tracks. It reminds me of Monaco. It just seems like a track from a bygone era because it is so short. It is so small. It's just such a cool little track to have.
Yeah, it is just one of the very, very unique oval races.
Yeah, there's not really anything much like it. There are a couple in different parts of the world. I think of the Birmingham City Speedway that they've got, but again, that's more of a sort of, you know, sort of, you see it a lot more for sort of dirt ovals than actual asphalt ovals or tarmac ovals or concrete ovals. Such a small little arena, but it is just perfect for this style of racing. It just really brings out the best of these cars. It's got some seriously high banking as well, and that's another thing of this track, is the banking is so very, very steep.
Yeah, surprisingly steep when you look at it. It doesn't look that bad when you're riding on board, but it is a lot bigger in person.
Yeah, banking never looks that bad on a screen. You never sort of see the true horror of banking until you actually see it up close and personal. It really is very steep, and sometimes even walking up a track like this, walking up the banking is nigh impossible. You see the cars doing the going around these corners, around these banking parts with such ease. But when you try and walk up a banking section like this, you almost fall over because it is just so steep. You have to almost go on all fours. A great battle from 8th onwards at the moment. We've got two middle finger racing cars with Lindsay Hobbs in there. And a big crash with the MFR cars. Brett Gerditz and I think into his teammate there.
Dancing caught up in that
incident.
now too.
Yeah, a
when he was
lot of
coming
cars.
around.
A lot of cars caught up in that. So just having a look, it looks like the 66 has gone round. The 66 of Mirko Dortanac, I think, has gone round and caused that big incident. And Matt Danson getting caught up in that as well. He's gone into the pile up and hit the car in there, and he has just managed to get it away. Not that much damage on the front of his car, but he wouldn't have wanted to get involved in that. Another big name getting caught up is Danny G as well, missing the whole front end of his car. A huge crash there for the mid pack. That's going to be some serious names taken out of contention right here.
Yeah, as we see them all come down pit road, and this will give the guys like JCW who have already gone down a lap because they didn't take them tyres last time, have a chance now to take those tyres and get their time back, hopefully.
Yeah, we'll give them a chance to get back onto the lead lap. They'll get a wave around. They'll sort of get back into position, things like that. It will really help them out. But big question is how much time and how much damage did that cause to Danson? He's got a little bit of a crumple on the front of his car, and it looks like he might be getting that repaired because he's losing positions hand over fist at the moment in the pit box. He's definitely losing time there. So yeah, is he getting that car repaired?
Might be. It's an interesting call from Danson. It must be worse than we can see up here.
Yeah, he's just leaving the pit box now, so very long stop for him. He's lost a lot of positions in that. Pretty much the whole front end of the field managed to pass him through that one. So a big name there just getting caught up in that one. So we'll have to wait and see what happens. I think Jason Martin is going to be our leader when everything shakes out. Jason Martin had a fantastic stop. He was sitting in second place anyway, so he's got a good position from that one.
Yeah, Jason Martin's been having a good little quiet race back there in second.
Yeah, he's just been sitting there, not making too much fuss, not really doing anything exciting or special for us to really see. But he's just been consistently putting in those laps. He was about 3 seconds down on Danson when we were sort of coming through there. And he's got some serious damage to the back of his car as well. So he has got damage to that car, quite a big crumple on the rear end of the vehicle. So he's obviously had somebody go into the back of him. Is that going to affect him too much? Because his teammate of Bicklemore is just behind him, again, with a very crumpled rear end. The Mitch Motorsport logo has seen better days for their cars. But this could be good news for the car in third place, which is the JP Simshed car of Edward Foster.
As we see Matt Danson back in pits again, obviously trying to stay that on the lead lap but get his car repaired at this point in time. But yeah, it'll be a good jump for Edward and the guys up the front.
Neil Pearson as well has managed to get back up there into fourth. A little bit of damage on that car. James Roby's looking good as well. Lindsay Hobbs has got some serious damage to the back of the car now. So there are some damaged cars out there. Another car that's been doing well is the 350 of Michael Skurlock. Obviously running a very different paint scheme to what we're usually seeing. A very speckly spotted car at the moment. Nice easy one to pick out of the crowd. He's sitting in 8th at the moment, made up some positions from 13th place.
How many rabbit mullets and roller duct tape do you reckon they're going to go through tonight?
I think it would be worth investing in duct tape at the moment because, yeah, there's going to be quite a bit of it needed. as we get a good restart there from Martin. Micklemore's got a good run on him though, but the best restart is Pearson. Pearson getting a fantastic jump on Foster, getting in front of him, and also Skurlock as well, getting a brilliant job restarting, climbing all the way up into sixth place, so making up a couple of positions on that restart.
A great restart from them guys, as we see all the guys start to just formate into that one line that Bristol is well known for. It's very hard to pass here.
It is. It's not impossible, but it is tricky. It's as I say, I compare it to Monaco in that respect. It can be done, but it's a brave person that does it. As it looks like Micklemore has got the speed on his teammate, and he is dragging through Neil Pearson as well. As Pearson is going round the top line at the moment, trying his best to get through past Jason Martin, and he has done with pretty much ease there. It looks like Martin is just losing quite a bit of speed on this run. Obviously, the damage is really affecting him because he looks to be a couple of kilometers slower, about 3 or 4, maybe 5 kilometers per hour slower than the cars around him.
Yeah, there's a bit of damage to that wing there. It's a bit bent up, but so that must be causing a bit of extra drag or something there.
Yeah, seriously, he's losing about 5 to 10 kilometers per hour as I'm just sort of flicking through the cars, looking at their speeds. Yeah, he's losing quite a lot of speed there, so that's going to really affect his race. Not good for him at all, not what he wants to have happen.
No, it's never what you want to have happen when you're up the front and you were in a leading position.
It's such a frustrating thing to have happen as well when you've got aero damage like that, because you push the car as hard as you can and you feel like the car is driving absolutely perfectly, yet it's still so very slow. It is just it's head scratching sometimes. It's very frustrating because you sort of go, I've got the speed, the car feels good, but you just don't. You're completely off pace, and you feel like everybody around you has got a different sort of car, a different engine in their car almost, because you lose so much speed indeed. Just down looking at 11th place, we've got Matt Danson on the charge, just coming up behind Mirko Dortnack at the moment, with Kai Sloggett and Matt Hunter up there, as well as James Roby. So he's going to start charging his way up, but he is on the same lap, so he is on the lead lap for him. So he's going to be trying his best to make sure he doesn't get a lap down.
Yeah, smart play from Danson to keep coming back out of the pits there so he could stay on the lead lap.
Yeah, an important decision and good strategic call. It's one of those things of just of sim racing that is just one of those things of, you don't have your mechanic there to call those things. You have to do it on yourself, and you have to do it on the fly almost. It looks like Jason Martin's starting to get used to his car now because he's got back up to speed. So obviously it was just throwing him out a little bit with that damage. Maybe just feeling like the car wasn't handling as well, not as grippy as it was before. But now he's got more confidence in the car and is able to keep on the back of Foster. So he's starting to catch on Foster now and sort of keeping on the back. But up in front we have Micklemore in the lead with Neil Pearson trying to chase him down, but losing a little bit of time as Martin is just running that very low line at the moment, tries to make a move on Foster, and I think Foster has gone. I think we've lost Foster. I think we've had a technical issue for Mr. Foster, so it looks like he's dropped off the face of the system, unfortunately. And he is back. There you go. We got him back. So luckily it wasn't too bad, but he has come back into the race. He has lost a few positions. He's down in 5th place at the moment. So he's going to be spewing about that one, I'm sure.
Yeah, it's never good when technical difficulties happen. That's obviously something you don't have in a real race car, but things happen here that that are out of our control as a driver, so...
The best way to put it down to, though, is like we see it a lot in Formula One nowadays, where the drivers have to reset their car's computers. So they pull over, put the car to a stop, and then have to press all these different buttons on their dashboard just to restart the car, and then it works fine. If the car's running around at like 50 kilometers per hour, and then they pull over, press a few buttons on their dashboard, and all of a sudden the car's back to pace. So that's the equivalent, really, of the real world aspect of racing is you have these technical problems, and they are just technical problems, unfortunately. And that was most definitely a internet issue there for Foster. So he's just dropped back a bit, and that was a real shame. He was having a very good run there, but he's not out of it yet. He can still come back from it.
And you were talking about Jason Martin there before. So some drivers are more confident on more tyres, and maybe he just wasn't feeling it on the super cold tyres there on the restart. Because as you can see, also lap traffic has got some effect on this, but he's catching onto the back of those guys again and is staying there pretty well at the moment.
Yes, absolutely. And look, cold tyres on Bristol is not a fun thing to be. It's not fun to have cold tyres on Bristol. The rear end does get very tail happy, and it's very easy to lose the car. It's again one of those tracks that looks very easy to drive when you're watching it from the stream and watching it from the booth. But when you actually go out there and start putting in some fast laps, it's not easy. The car really doesn't like to stick, and he has managed to catch up to the front runners. Neil Pearson's actually managed to get into the lead now, ahead of Josh Micklemore all through this traffic. But it looks like he might lose the position again. As they're going through the traffic, it's just really a who gets the lucky line of the traffic where it sits. So Pearson has managed to get into the lead.
Yeah, there was some too wide running by lap traffic there, which unfortunately pushed Josh back, but fortunately for Neil, gave him the spot.
Yeah, great drive so far from Neil Pearson at the moment. He's going to be absolutely pleased about that. And I'm sure he's going to be very happy running up in those positions.
Josh is back underneath, but just doesn't have the drive off the corner, and that's what we'll see, I believe, here with the difference between the low and high line here tonight.
Yeah, there is a big difference between the two lines at the moment. So we are seeing some difference as they go round. Of course, one of the other things we got here is we've got a car that's got a very damaged front end with Neil Pearson in the DPR car, and a very clean front end on the two Mitch Motorsport cars, but very poor rear ends on them. So we're seeing some the difference between damage as well. Which damage is worse? And it's looking like the damage on the back is causing the most problem at the moment. But that can change as we go through different tyre cycles too. So it'll be interesting to see how that works out. And they are really having to side their way through this traffic. It's not easy to do.
Yeah, talking of Mitch Motorsports, I guess with it Illusion going now, we got our three main teams, which would be Mitch, MFR, and JP Sim Shed, as we see a wreck and Josh Micklemore around due to a lap car there.
Big shame there for Micklemore. That is a real shame. One of the MFR cars there, the other sort of big team. So Kai Sloggett there, and yeah, real shame. Just Kai Sloggett just getting into the wall. It looks like he's just tapped the wall, going across the start finish line, and that sent him ping ponging into Jason Mine and of course Josh Micklemore coming off the worst in that incident. A guy that got very lucky there was yeah, James Robbie, that's the one. Thank you very much, producer. James Robbie, yeah, he got very close to having a big wreck there, so very close for that one. And we see the cars coming into pit lane. Foster making a last-minute decision there as well. Edward Foster coming into pit lane right at the last second there. So that was almost a complete failure for Foster, but he managed to get it.
Yeah, I think that caused Matt having to pull up in pit lane there, actually, right at the end of pit lane to give that position back to Edward.
Yeah, it sort of slowed down both of their pit stops. James Robbie getting in first, so yeah, that was a very late call there. Yeah, Danson's had to come to a stop, so that's going to hurt his pit time as well. Be interesting to see how that goes because Danson's going to lose a few spots from that. Josh Micklemore as well got caught up in that slow pit stop. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. It looks like Neil Pearson's going to be leading. James Roby's managed to jump up to second place. Brilliant job for him after that very near miss. Almost ended his race a couple of laps before, but he's managed to keep it going.
Yeah, and James Roby and his team are a rookie team this year, so this will be a good kick in the guts for him to keep going and pushing.
Yeah, Pace Syndicate, one of the newer teams out there, and it's good to see them up there as well. Also, Neil Pearson as well with the I can't remember the name of the team he's running with off the top of my head. But they're having a good season as well. The cars have always been up there. Pearson's been having a great drive so far as well. Been putting the car up into some good positions. So good job for him. Another car that's really had this all pay off for him is actually Matt Hunter, sitting there in fourth at the moment. One of the best positions we've seen for Hunter. Sort of very new to the Cup Series, of course. Hunter was our producer for many years and didn't get a chance to race. He's managed to get out there and he's getting the car in a good position.
Mr. Carl can't read the sticker on the front of the number 9. It's the DPR team.
Thank you very much. Yep. Yeah, wrong camera position. I'll blame the camera positions for that one. But yeah, DPR have been having a good result this season. They've been having some good sort of strong finishes, good top tens. Josh Micklemore just doing the Matt Danson approach, coming in again for repairs on that car. So they've had to have a couple of quick repairs on that car. So looking a little bit second-hand, a lot of these cars have got some serious damage on them. There are a couple of clean cars out there though. So again, it's going to be interesting to see how they do. Matt Danson's managed to claw his way up to 8th at the moment, so he's sitting very close to the top 10. On this restart, we could see him coming quite far up.
We're just past halfway too as the lights go off on the safety car.
So we're going back to green on this lap, and pace car has come in, and the green will drop. Green has dropped, and Pearson gets a good restart. Foster and Hunter are battling it out. Foster's on that lower line, gets a good drive there, and it looks like he should be able to keep that position, and he does. Martin's looking pretty hungry. He's going down the inside now. Martin's got a much better restart than last time. Seems to have a much better pace this time round. And we've got a bit of an incident behind. It looks like Danny Stevens has gone into the wall. We'll just have a look at that one.
The cars in the Danson, the DPI car, Edward Foster, everyone's involved, coming back around there.
Yeah, so it looked like the 98 just drifted up there, just going into Danny Stevens. So Stephen Williams, Daniel Stevens there had that, and then the front runners getting involved in that crash. Just going back to have a look at it myself to see what was happening.
Yeah, an unfortunate error from Daniel Stevens to reverse back down on the track, and some drivers are very unhappy and expressing.
Yeah.
Anger or annoyance with Daniel Stevens at the moment.
Yeah, reversing back down is not good form because all of those cars were going down to the low line to avoid that crash, and all of those drivers that went down to that low line have now been involved in that crash. And as you say, a lot of the front runners got hit up in that one. Some very unhappy drivers there for sure.
Yeah, it just looks like Stephen Williams got into Daniel Stevens, and that caused him to go around, and he's reversed back down in front of the field, unfortunately.
Yeah, we'll see the race stewards having a look at that one at the end of the day, I am sure. A lot of drivers, as you say, unhappy about that one, and can understand why. Quite a few drivers are actually sort of left the session as well on that one because their cars have been pretty much taken out of the running and too much damage to continue. So we've got quite a few cars taken out of that race as well. Real shame because we had quite a few veterans up at the front looking very hungry for a win as we went past our halfway distance, and we've lost a lot of those drivers from those positions. At the moment, it's looking good for Skurlock with the debut of his polka dot car. The car is looking very clean at the moment, not much damage at all to that. Matt Hunter as well, just a little bit of damage, I think, to the back, just a tiny crumple, nothing much. Jason Martin sitting in a good position, although the car is crabbing a little bit. And then James Roby up in front has got some damage, but he's managed to stay up in that position. So be interesting to see how this goes. Foster has got some quite significant damage to the front of that car, but then everybody else around him has. Another driver, just to talk about it, is Norman Clark. We saw Norman Clark, one of the first cars to get lapped in this race, is now sitting in seventh place. So fantastic driving from Norman. It just shows the veteran, the veteran sort of brain Norman Clark just working perfectly there, just weaving his way through all of the carnage and managing to get the car up there into seventh place.
Yeah, no, an unfortunate outcome for Dance with no front end left on that car at all and now a lap down. But also really bad, unfortunate outcome there for Neil as he was up there leading for, I don't know if it was his first time or one of his earlier times as a small team, like we were saying, having a good run, and then just something silly like that happens.
Yeah, I think the frustrating part is when it's something so, when it's one of those sort of laws of oval racing that you break, and it can be a momentary brain lapse where you think, okay, I'll be fine. I just think back to the 1996 Monaco Grand Prix as we go green again, and James Roby gets a good restart there, along with Matt Hunter getting down underneath Jason Martin. Skurlock is putting some serious pressure on the back of these guys now, so we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, we'll see how these damaged cars play out as Jason seems to have a good amount of speed.
Yeah, Jason Martin, somebody you never need to count out because he is very fast. He is very good. He's been having a bit of a rough year so far, a few mistakes of his own and a few instances where he's just got caught a bit unlucky. And there's a few drivers you can say that about this season, unfortunately. They've not had the best of luck, which is a real shame because it's one thing about motorsport is you sometimes luck is better than skill. It's an important thing to have luck sometimes, and it is needed. At the moment, we've got Lindsay Hobbs and Foster fighting out for 5th and 6th. Matt Hunter's dropping a little bit off the pace, but James Roby's got a good restart there.
Yeah, racing can be a bit like a casino. You have a good couple of weeks and then you have some bad ones, as we see Matt Danson retiring the car.
Shane there, a very strong drive from Danson again. Although, no, he's coming back out. I think he was just getting...
I don't know what that was all about then.
Yeah, not sure. He might have got a penalty or something. Yeah, maybe he just came in because he's a bit hungry and just grabbed a drink or something like that, like the proper old school racing drivers used to. But he's come out. He's 2 laps down now. But we've seen this race. Who knows who's going to win it? It could be anybody's race to win.
Yeah, and given how fast Danson is, he at the best of times, we'll probably see him come at least 1 lap back up.
Yeah, it gives him a bit of a challenge to pull out for himself there. It gives him something to race for.
He loves them challenges too.
As we see Joshua Carroll Walden working his way back up the field in 9th place, the last car on the lead lap at the moment. Dave Douglas, the first car a lap down, just fighting to get his way back up there at the moment. He's trying to get back on that lead lap as James Roby leads with Jason Martin behind him, Michael Skurlock 3rd, and then 4th man we've got Matt Hunter. It's like the number 7 had a little bit of a moment, Lindsay Hobbs. Just getting a bit of a tap from Foster there. He's just come out. Lindsay Hobbs has just come up a little bit too early, got a bit of a tap and has just gone down low. Managed to keep the car straight, keep it going, but a little bit of door tapping there between the two, and Foster's come off better in that one. Just Lindsay just coming up a little bit into Foster's line there, but both drivers managed to hold the cars well, so good job from both of them. And they're chasing down the rest of the pack now. So we've only got 9 cars in it at the moment, sort of on this lap, so to say. So could be interesting from here. If we do manage to run green for the rest of this race, it could be an interesting one.
Yeah, for sure. We haven't seen a super long run yet out of these guys, so it would be interesting to see one good long green run here.
Yeah, it would be. And just to finish off my Monaco 96 story, we saw a very similar thing happen with Eddie Irvine when he went round on the closing laps of the race and spun the car around, thinking there was nobody around him, and ended up spinning into Mika Salo and Mika Hakkinen and costing them the race victory. And I think we only had about 7 cars finish that race in the end, 6, maybe even less actually. I think 5 cars finished that race in the end. So it is one of those things on these small tracks, on these little tracks. They can be very treacherous. When a car goes round, you've not got much room to move, and because the oval is so tight here as well, sometimes you can't see trouble ahead of you. You do miss crashes ahead of you, and that can cause you issues too.
Yeah, that's for sure. But we also have things like live timing in these cars here, so it is easier to see when the pack are coming up on you. And generally, rule of thumb is to hold your brakes in stock car when you wreck.
Yep, you always keep that brake down and just hold on for dear life. Yeah, you brake and pray, basically. That's what I've been told. Um, and it is very much a thing of you have to sort of let go of those instincts of getting out of the racing line, because you go round, you crash up, and you want to get out of the racing line, you want to get out of the way, but sometimes that's the worst thing you can do. Well, most of the time that's the worst thing you can do. As Foster and Hobbs are having a good battle here for fifth and sixth. Lindsay Hobbs going back down the inside of Foster, and Foster again makes contact with Hobbs, and Hobbs is going round. Hobbs has gone up into the 09 of Norman Clark. Clark has got a hit, and we're in caution.
Yeah, it was now missing the whole front of that car, unfortunately. Bit of just battling and probably damaged cars. It all got too much there.
Yeah, the whole front end has come off of Foster's car there. The two were just battling down that back straight there, just coming off of the corner, and just looks like a bit of racing incident there between the two. Just tapped on the back Foster, and Hobbs has gone round. And a couple of cars got involved in that as well, collecting Hobbs as they were going around spinning. Looks like Norman Clark is the biggest loser in the crash that really wasn't involved in it, just getting a big whack to the left side of the car and going up into the wall. Norman Clark's got some big damage there now, and that's going to hurt the car significantly as we see the leaders coming in for a pit stop.
Yeah, it always sucks to be the poor victim, the innocent bystander, we'll call it, sorry.
It does, and it's one of the things, as I said, sometimes luck is better than skill. Because, if you do get lucky in these situations, you've got that chance of getting a good position, and it's an important thing to have luck. And so sometimes these drivers they don't have the best of luck. There are a few drivers out there that seem to have stepped on too many black cats and walked under a few too many ladders sometimes, and they just have some unfortunate incidents, which is a real shame. It's something we don't want to see, but it does happen, unfortunately.
Yeah, for sure.
Guy is looking good for at the moment, though, is Skurlock. He's got the best looking car out there. Well, for the actual bodywork of the car, maybe not for the paint scheme. Still unsure on that one. Looks like his car's got chicken pox. But that car's looking very clean, and Matt Hunter as well. Again, a very clean car there, looking good. Sniffing blood just behind him, we've got the two JP Simshed cars of Joshua Carroll. Well, three JP Simshed cars of Carroll Walden, Joshua Carroll Walden, Edward Foster, and Norman Clark there. So they're sitting in strong positions as well, all inside the top 10. Mirko Dortnack, Jason Martin, and Dave Douglas up in 7th, 8th, and 9th, and then sitting just on the end of the top 10 is Lindsay Hobbs. So we've got 9 cars in the top 10 at the moment. So Dave Douglas is the last of those cars on the lead lap, so to say. But we will see a wave around, I'm sure, and we may see a couple of cars getting back on the lead lap.
We will not see a wave around because the car that was getting waved around, I believe, either went in the pits or was caught up in the instant. I believe. I could be wrong.
Yes, because Lindsay Hobbs is that one, so we might not see that one. But just on the edge of that sort of wave around is Matt Danson sitting in 11th. So Matt Danson has worked his way up there, missing most of the car, but he's working his way up there still. Can't count him out for sure. As looks like Danson's got the wave around from the pace car for this part at least. So we'll see what happens there. I'll wait for everything to update and get back on the system. Might still be a lap down though. I think it's just because he was in front of those guys on the actual pace car, which will be coming in shortly. So, James Roby's going to be leading us away, and he's got Michael Skurlock on the outside of him. Skurlock's had a fantastic run this season, and away they go. Roby gets a really good start, but Skurlock's on it as well. Skurlock's got good traction there on the high side, giving James Roby a really good run for his time here. Will James Roby be able to keep Skurlock behind him? Does not look like it. Skurlock has got some serious pace up on that high line at the moment.
Yeah, that's an absolutely awesome drive there by Skurlock off the restart. And someone that, like you said, mentioned was Joshua Carroll-Walden. We saw him a lap down earlier, and he's fought his way all the way back up to third place at the moment.
Yeah, JCW having a great drive at the moment. Really worked his way up there. Matt Hunter's still sitting in fourth place. Again, brilliant drive for Hunter. His debut season in Cup at least. We've seen Matt Hunter racing in trucks and Xfinity as well. And Matt Hunter, of course, one of the admins of the ANZCAR series and worker of the New Zealand side of things, the Kiwi side of things for the Thunder series. Jason Martin flying his way up through the field, currently battling with Foster and Dortnack. So we've got some good battles all across us, as James Roby's just trying to hold off JCW at the moment, but JCW really wants to get past and just keep on the back of Skurlock. But we've seen good form from Skurlock so far this year. He has been very fast, very much up there.
Yeah, talking to Matt Hanna, he had a good place finish there the other night in the Thunder series.
Yeah, he's really been just getting things right really for Matt Hunter. Jason Martin has come or gone into the wall. He's just gone off. So yeah, Martin's just gone off. He's gone off and dropped down the P8. Looks like he might have got a little bit of a tap with Foster. He's come up on Foster and just got a tap on the rear end of Foster, and then come down to the apron and had to go up into the sort of barriers basically, and lost a lot of speed and pace there. So Martin trying to get through, did not manage that one. Things did not work out well.
No, a bit of an unfortunate incident there, but as a driver, you don't want to wreck someone else, so you'd rather wreck yourself.
That's it. It's Foster was very lucky there not to go around as well. And yet hit on the rear side of these cars, it's very easy to lose the position, lose the grip. Jason Martin's already got back up to Foster though. He is really flying. Dave Douglas as well is just keeping pace there as we see Jason Martin going down the inside line as Dave Douglas makes the move on Foster and gets ahead. So Dave Douglas is on a bit of a push as well at the moment.
Yeah, some really quality driving from the best of our drivers here in Australia.
Yeah, great driving is what we like to see. What we do like to see in in this series, and we've got some of the best oval races there are as well, which is always nice to have. Always good to have on this as well. So I'm just looking over the championship standings because we didn't have time to do that at the start. If anything happens on track, just shout at me.
Jason Martin got his position. He's catching quickly back on the back of Dave Douglas, but that's all.
Very quick. It looks like Foster is struggling from that damage for sure. Martin's on a charge at the moment. He's got Dortnack and Douglas there just in front of him. So great battle. Currently, just for the championship, Skurlock is currently fighting it out with Josh Micklemore. So it's going to be a good day for Skurlock, who currently sits second in the championship with 270 points, one behind Josh Micklemore, Danny G in third, with Chris Purnell fourth, Edward Foster fifth, Brett Gurditz sixth, Matt Danson seventh, Riley Curtis eighth, James Roby ninth, and Dave Douglas in 10th place, as Dave Douglas often is in the 10th place position, the number 10 car in 10th place, something we kind of get used to seeing with Dave Douglas. He's always consistent. But this is going to be a good night for Skurlock if he manages to keep this place, as well as James Roby. It's really going to help his championship run.
Yeah, a few drivers up there, even Dave Douglas. Now, that'll help his championship a bit.
Yeah, Dave Douglas has got a serious charge on at the moment. He's got some good speed there, and he is just pulling away from Jason Martin. The front rows are pretty even as it is. Nobody's really making much headway. Nobody's really making up too much speed. A couple of cars are just dropping a little bit of pace. Um, Matt Danson's on a bit of a charge, trying to get back on the lead lap as well, and he's going to be praying for a caution with this one. If a caution flag comes out, he will be in a good position.
Yeah, he'll get the lucky dog wave around and get his lap back, and he'll be back in contention if his car is good enough.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see how that one goes, because he's definitely got that speed there, and he can do it when he needs to. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with him through the rest of that one. So yeah, high 15 seconds for his lap times, while we've got about mid 15 seconds for the leader at the moment. So he's not quite as fast, but he's not that slow. He's sitting sort of in timing wise, he's about the fastest out of those guys, sitting from about P4 down. So some good racing there. Good to see some good times being set in.
Yeah, it's interesting. As we say, Bristol is a hard track here, so we only line on the lead lap, which goes to show how difficult it is. Like we said, we have the best here in Australia and New Zealand.
Yeah, got some great drives coming up. And yeah, it just shows, it can be anybody's race sometimes in ovals. It's, as I say, better to be lucky than good sometimes. Unfortunately, Matt Danson possesses both luck and talent, which is why he's usually leading the field, and why he's going to the pros, of course. He's focusing more on that this season than the actual ANZCAR Cup, but he's still a big threat to everybody, and everybody is really working hard to make sure that he does not get that position in the championship. They want to make sure that he sits just a bit lower in the championship, and sort of is not too much of a threat to the end season. A lot of hungry drivers out there as well. Michael Skurlock is very hungry. He's had a good couple of years. He's been there or thereabouts, but last season was a bit of a letdown for himself and his former team as well. They weren't too happy with their performance last year, but this year he seems to be just pulling it out of the bag and really putting in some good times. And you can see that with his championship results being up there, just 1 point away from P1.
Yeah, really good drive, and it was unfortunate for him to get caught up there earlier on.
Yeah, there's going to be a few unfortunate sob stories out there tonight, and well, we kind of expected it for Bristol. It is one of those things that it is one of those tracks where cautions are quite common. Touching wood, it's not been too bad tonight. We've had a few caution runs. We've had six caution flags at the moment as it stands. We kind of expected to see more, I think, but it's good that we're not seeing that. Seems that everybody's started to settle down now. All of that aggression's been worked out of them. Of course, they have had to wait an extra week to race here because, of course, we had to call off the season, the race last time out due to technical issues with the iRacing servers, unfortunately, which was a real shame. But we are back again this week, so we're sort of ready to go. And it does mean that we've got Richmond next week as well. So we would have had a little bit of a break if we kept to schedule. We would have had a nice 1 week off break, but unfortunately we don't get that anymore. So we're working hard here up in the booths as well as the drivers. But Michael Skurlock's just catching on some of the other guys. He's just catching up to Norman Clark now and just about to lap him. And just in front of Norman Clark is Matt Danson, who might go 2 laps down here. And got Jason Martin and JCW, Joshua Carroll-Walden, having a good scrap, and Martin looks to have got the better of him here. And Martin does push his way up to 4th place. Martin is definitely on a charge now and is putting in some good times. Martin is setting some seriously good pace on those laps. He's not the fastest out there at the moment, but he's not doing too bad. He's keeping a steady pace, and he's got a better pace over the cars behind him. He's a bit faster than people like JCW and stuff like that. He's setting the sort of mid-15s at the moment, but he's in clean air, whereas everyone else is battling with lapped cars at the moment.
Yeah, Jason Martin looking very strong since he got those tyres one back up there.
He has, and a guy that's really doing quite well catching up is James Roby. With all this traffic, it's given him a chance to catch back up, and it looks like Koch has just got into him. The 055 just got into him a little bit there, and luckily Roby managed to keep it straight, and so did the 550. So luckily keeping that. Hopefully there's not too much damage to Roby's car there though. But a little bit of contact there. It just shows how quickly this race can go from green to caution. But we've managed to keep the cars straight, keep it going. But how much damage did that cause to Roby's car?
Yeah, I'm sure James Roby was sweating bullets in those few seconds right there.
Yeah, he would have definitely been gripping quite strongly and been having a bit of a brown trouser moment. I imagine that would have been the case there. It would have been full brown alert, but he did a good job keeping that car straight, keeping it on the track. As Matt Hunter's currently catching up to JCW now, while Dave Douglas is charging just behind them. So we'll get a good battle from 4th to 6th in a moment, I think. Mirko Dortnack's just sitting a little bit further back, quite a lot of damage to that car, and he's keeping Edward Foster at bay. Norman Clark just a bit further back again from Foster is just sort of sitting in those places and not really pushing too far forwards at the moment, but they have got quite a lot of damage to that car, as we see Skurlock catching the Vegan Foods Melbourne car of Matt Danson, the 30, and goes underneath him to put him 2 laps down, and is about to lap Edward Foster. So Foster in 8th place is about to go a lap down.
And that just shows you the speed of Skurlock out here tonight, and how short Bristol is. So things like this generally happen because Bristol is so small. It is easy to get lapped, and Edward unfortunately getting tangled up in that wreck early, causing him a bit of aero damage there.
Yeah, really unfortunate for him and Pearson as well. It was a bit of a heartbreaking moment for Pearson. He was having a great run there, but yeah, real shame to see him getting knocked out. So while running in such a strong spot. But currently, really, the guy that's doing the best job out there is Skurlock. He's got a clean car and everything like that. And we've got 9 laps to go, actually. We're pretty much to the end of the race. I didn't even realise we'd got there. It's been a very quick race, actually. Quite a lot of action. I think starting a little bit earlier as well has thrown me off. But 9 laps to go for this one. And 8 over the line we go. So we're getting very close to the finish now. Skurlock's looking pretty strong. James Roby is doing his best to catch up to him. But it looks like places are going to sort of sit as they are. Nobody's really catching on anyone. Nobody's close enough as it is to get those positions. But we'll have to see what happens, of course. We've got a bit of a battle between JCW and Matt Hunter. They're having a bit of a match here, but it looks like JCW's got the speed. But Michael Skurlock's just got to get this car around for another 6 laps, and he'll be sitting on the top spot of the podium.
Yeah, as we see Matt Danson pull it into the hauler and take it away.
Yeah, it's going to help out with that championship. And just looking, I think Matt Danson's actually parked it for the night.
Yeah.
He seems to have parked it for the night. So Matt Danson is parking it now. So we've got Danson out. So as we cross the line, 4 laps to go. So the white flag will be coming out pretty soon. Just clicking through just to see if there's anything close to us. Probably the closest race at the moment is Norman Clark and Edward Foster now. They're getting pretty close together and pretty racy with each other. The two are pushing hard as can be in the top 8. 8 and 9. As Danny G just gets a little bit close to the wall, gets a little bit of damage. But really, you've got to say Skurlock has done a fantastic job tonight. He has just been... Well, he's just kept his car perfectly clean, really, and done a brilliant job keeping this one there.
Yeah, he hasn't got a single mark on that car, and that's testament to his driving out there tonight. Really great job from him, coming off the back of losing his backing from Illusion Racing. They dissolved overnight.
It is, and it's our hybrid racing solution 1 lap to go. So we are on white flag lap as it is, and looks like Skurlock. Wait, did I come too soon for that one? I did, didn't I? Yeah, Hybrid Racing Solutions white flag lap now, and Skurlock looks to have this one in the bag. Looking pretty good for himself. Um, really doesn't look like anyone else is going to be able to make any positions, and Skurlock crosses the line and gets that one. So a brilliant job there for Michael Skurlock. James Roby as well, fantastic drive, 15th to 2nd. And yeah, no real big changes in the top there. So we have Michael Skurlock taking out the win with James Roby 2nd. Jason Martin ended up in 3rd place. Good job for Jason. He had a very hard night, a few crashes tonight. Joshua Carroll-Walden again. We saw him a lap or two down in the early stages of the race. He managed to get 4th place in the end. Matt Hunter, a career best finish in the Cup Series, 5th place. Brilliant job for him. I'm sure he's going to be ecstatic about that. Dave Douglas, Mr. Top 10, finishing in 6th place. Mirko Dortnack managed to get into 7th place despite having a car that looked very second-hand. Edward Foster getting in 8th place with Norman Clark in 9th. Again, very strong showing for the JP Simshed Racing team. They're really going to have to bring the battle to the Mitch Motorsport guys now. And Josh Micklemore finished in 10th place. We had Tristan Koch in 11th with Danny G 12th. Matthew Cluett in 13th with Hamish Gallagher 14th. Rob Fletcher in 15th. 16th we had Matt Danson. Lindsay Hobbs in 17th with Raymond Yeager 18th. 19th Brett Gerritz with Stephen Williams in 20th. 21st Neil Pearson, and 22nd was Danny Stevens. 23rd Kai Sloggett with Shane Thompson in 24th. 25th was Lachlan, and 26th was Jason Hardigan, and Mick Wilson didn't make the grid, so 27th, no start, no finish for him. But the guy of the night was Michael Skurlock. That was one heck of a result for him.
Yeah, absolutely amazing driving there, and that just goes to show if anyone's looking for a driver and Skurlock's interested, definitely sign him onto your team. He's a great driver and he's been bringing a lot of results in this year so far.
Well, he's had a fantastic season so far. I think we've had him up in the booth 3 or 4 times this season. It's been a few times now. Didn't see him much last year, but this year he's been a bit of a constant feature. So what I'm going to do is grab him down from the green room into the box and have a quick chat. Mr. Michael Skurlock, congratulations on the race victory there.
Oh, thanks, Carl. It wasn't expecting that one. Never done well at Bristol.
Well, you can now cross that off your list of tracks you've done well at. A bit of a strange one this week, of course. You had your team dissolve on you, and obviously you're out there on your own tonight in your very nice polka dot car. But you pulled in another good result for the Cup Series, another win for you.
Yeah, taking the Q-Bird out for a run there, and just doing it for the Green Room Bandits now. Back to where it all started, mate, where you sit in the green room and race.
It's a fun place to be. I'm sure you're enjoying that. A little bit different out there. Did it change much to your approach this race? Obviously, in qualifying last week, you had a team. You come into this race and you don't have a team. Did that make any difference to how the race went for you? Do you feel, or was there not really much noticeable difference?
To be honest, man, like this race, I didn't even realise it was going on. Like I was just driving then. Like I wasn't focused really at all. I wasn't really worried about where I was going to come because I don't normally do well here. I normally just go to the back and let it all unfold in front of me. But because I was just lucky, man. Like literally, there was accidents happening everywhere, and I was just missing them by millimeters, and that was why I was up there. You know, like I wasn't really focused at all, to be honest.
No, well, I think you were the only car out there to be fully intact at the end of that race, so I'm sure that helped an awful lot.
Yeah, it is a bit different, but you know, some of the same boys, you know, that usually run with, we're all in the green room, in the bandit section there. So I wasn't alone. I wasn't lonely yet.
Didn't get too lonely in that race. That's good to hear. So before we let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight?
Yeah, I think it's back just to shouting out to the missus and the son now, even though they don't have any interest in it at all. It's the only people I've really got to thank now for letting me do it. But Yeah, just thanks for you guys putting it on, obviously, and JP's Sim Shed for hosting it, and Edward and Matty Hunter and Danny for putting the league on, and just trying to get that chin up on the rim there and letting her eat, mate, every night.
Well, you're doing good, and this will put you in the lead of the championship as well. So you jump back up there into first place on the championship now for the cup. So that's a pretty decent place to be. It's been a good year so far.
Beautiful, mate.
Just got to keep it up for the rest of the season. I hope to see you in the box in the next couple of races.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Thank you.
See you, Scarlett. So Michael Scarlett there, part of the Green Room Bandits now, just on his own. Is a bit of a freelancer now. Bit strange to see, but fantastic result for him and just a great win there.
Yeah, it was a great win tonight for him, and we'll help him out in the you guys discuss there.
So next up, we'll grab down second place man James Roby. James Roby, Carl with you here with Simshed Broadcasting for the ANZCAR Cup. Congratulations on that second place.
Yeah, cheers, boys. It's a nice night when I get to talk to you guys. I'm pretty happy to get through that one. Definitely wasn't unscathed, but got it to the end anyway.
You did indeed, and yeah, I can't remember the last time you were up in the box with us. It's been a while. Good to have you back up here, but you had a really good race there. You kept pace all through it, and you managed to keep relatively out of the trouble. You got caught up in a couple of those, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, I think I managed to get through the first half of the race pretty clean and just move my way forward, which is all I wanted to do. I just wanted to survive the first 150 laps and managed to do that. And then, unfortunately, that incident that took out Neil, I sustained a fair bit of damage there on the right hand side of the car, but it was enough to keep pace. And uh, yeah, I think I had to steer it a bit harder and the tyres were wearing a bit quicker, but I was pretty happy to keep it up there. I was surprised with the speed the car still had.
Yeah, you had that speed still, and that's great to see, and it is a big help, of course. It's always nice to have a car with a bit of pace in it still. You've been having a relatively good season as well this year. You're in the top 10 for the championship as it stands. You're going to be a little bit higher up after this race for sure. You sort of been doing anything a bit differently this season, or just sort of going at it as you sort of normally would?
I think, to be honest, it's just been committing to the series. Last year, I had sort of a bit of time off in the middle of the year, and I think it just comes down to seat time, really. And yeah, just committing to it and relaxing through the races and trying to survive through the races too. Trying to work better on a long run. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And yeah, I mean that run there, I let Skurlock go at the start of that last restart, thinking that I'd get back to him, and I didn't quite have enough time to do it. But just staying relaxed and just trying to survive.
Yeah, well, 13 places gained in that race, not bad to sniff at. You know, good run there, and really overall a great result for you. And it's good to see you up in the sort of top three again, up in that sort of top positions, and hopefully that's an omen for things to come for future races in the series.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It's nice when you have top tens and top fives and that sort of thing. So to get a second and a top three, I'm pretty stoked with, to be honest. Very.
Good to hear. So before I let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out for tonight?
Yeah, just all the boys at Pace Syndicate, and Racewide Tasmania, Northbridge Slots, um, and yeah, all the guys in behind the scenes. Thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you so much, James. And I hope to see you up in the box in the next couple of races.
Yep, I'd love to talk to you guys again. That'd be awesome.
See you soon. Bye, mate.
Cheers. Thank you.
James Roby there, Pace Syndicate Racing. Again, stellar performance. He's been having some good, strong performances this year. Being in that top 10 position, as I said, he's in the top 10 of the championship standings as well. This is really going to help his championship out for sure. And being back sort of full time in the series is definitely going to help him. So we will grab down third place man Jason Martin, a guy that we have not spoken to for quite some time actually. Jason Martin, Carl Withy here with JP Simshed Broadcasting. How are you going?
G'day, mate. Good to finally get a decent result.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen you up in the box.
Yeah, I thought you might have been getting sick of listening to me, so I gave you a bit of a break.
A bit of a break from you, yeah, that's it. Look, we don't want to see it too much, but we've been having some interesting races of late, and this year you've been sort of but running out of luck a couple of times. You've had a few good positions, and then things have not gone your way through the whole race, which seems to be the bit of a story of your year so far. But last couple of races, things seem to have been getting a bit better. Is it just sort of a bit of a luck thing at the moment, or are you feeling a little bit sort of driving a little bit differently?
Yeah, just no luck at the moment. I've been driving pretty good, I thought, and trying to keep out of trouble until the last few laps, but yeah, just seem to be getting caught up in everything.
Yeah, it's you've been a bit of a magnet of late, which is unfortunate. And tonight was not really an exception. You did get caught up in a few incidents tonight, but you managed to get it home in third place still, which was a fantastic job.
Yeah, I wasn't happy. I thought my race was over because I had a fair bit of damage, but it doesn't matter too much at Bristol. You can still make up spots if you drive okay.
Definitely. One thing I wanted to ask you about was I think it was the second restart. You were battling it with Edward Foster, and you just seemed to lack a lot of pace. Were you struggling a bit with the cold tyres at first, or was it just a bit of just not having confidence in the car with damage?
Yeah, I was down a little on straight line speed, and I didn't want to push too hard on cold tires. I wanted to keep them fresh for a long run, so I didn't want to push too hard. But yeah, I needed long runs because the car had too much damage to keep up on the first 5-10 laps.
Yeah, something we thought was possible. We speculated that in the box. But yeah, glad to have you back up in the booth at least. It's been too long. We hope to see you up here again soon. Make sure to visit us again in the next couple of races. Hopefully, you'll be visiting us from the top spot.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Hopefully, I can have more luck.
We'll bite a rabbit's foot or something.
Or I'll take anything at the moment.
Now, just before I let you go, anyone you'd like to give a shout out to tonight?
Got to thank BK Designs, ANZCAR for putting on the race for us all to have fun, and of course JP Simshed for putting on the broadcast, and you guys for commentating for us and keeping us entertained.
No worries. Thank you so much, Jason. Hopefully, we'll catch you up in the box again soon.
Cheers, mate.
Jason Martin there for Mitch Motorsport. Yeah, he got a bit unlucky in this race, but the luck came back to him for sure. It worked out quite well in the end.
Yeah, it did, and he, like we said, had a bit of slow pace on those cold tyres and in confidence in the car after that wreck. So once that all come back to him, he drove really good.
Yeah, he got back up there quite well, and well, that's the end of the Bristol round at least. So we'll be heading off to Richmond on the 16th. So we won't get a break as we thought we would for the Richmond round, but also coming up on the JP Simshed streams, we have the Oran Park round of the Jinx Super 2 V8 series. And if you've not been watching that, make sure to catch it. Some fantastic racing, and that's on the 14th of this month, 14th of April. Some fantastic racing there for the V8 cars, and they're going to be racing, let's say, Oran Park. So a very different racetrack, very different place to go. And should be some good racing there. We've been having some fantastic results in that series. Well worth a look at, especially while there's not other motorsport going on. It's well worth catching up to because I'm sure you're going to get hooked to it. But we'll see you at Richmond next for the ANZCAR Cup. Jono, any last thoughts on that race?
Went by very quickly, but besides that, we just want to thank all our new viewers and subscribers and followers on all our platforms for tonight, and thank you for joining us, and I'll let you finish it up, Carl.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you to everybody for watching, and especially to those guys that are watching the replay of the race, the recording of the race afterwards. We would get quite a few watches from after the race, of course, and I know a few of you drivers do watch it as well. So I hope you enjoyed that one. It wasn't the yellow fest we expected. It went by quite quickly, that one. We expected it to be a little bit trickier than it was, but a few drivers did get caught out in it. But luckily, we got some good racing in the end. So we will see you all again at Richmond. Have a good night, keep well, and we'll see you all soon. Good night.